back, everybody, to another Hive Mind Modern Deck Tech. This time we have Victor. Victor, what's going on, pal?
What's up, buddy?
All right, so Victor's another one of our RCQ winners. Victor, what the H double hockey sticks am I looking at here, pal? Tell me all about this.
Well, as you know, I hate everyone, so I didn't want to play the traditional stuff that's going out
Hey,
there.
man, I don't blame you.
No, it's just, you know what? For me, I'm a mid-range guy. I like mid-range decks, So I happened to see a list that had actually done well in a league, which we always talk about. Leagues aren't always indicative, but then I happened to see someone that plays pretty high in one of the modern challenges, and I said, you know what? I think this deck has something that can attack the meta in a way that I like to play. So this is 5-color domain Valakut. We have the classic engine of 4 Leyline of the Guild Pack, 4 Scion of Draco.
What a
Really,
combo.
really strong against Boros energy. They have to use a static prison to deal with the ley line. Um, Other than that, if they don't have that, your Scions pretty much are almost impossible to get through. They're crashing in the air. They're attacking, they're blocking, they're gaining you life, which buys you more time against that deck. And eventually, because all of my lands are mountains with that in play, or because of Dryad, these Valakuts go nuts, and they get nuts pretty quickly.
I see 4 Valakuts.
4 Valakuts, and every one of them is a mountain, hopefully.
You're all in on the Valakut plan as well as the Leyline Scion package. I'm not gonna lie, this deck looks sweet. Man, if I had all these cards, I probably would be more inclined to play something like this. This seems like a lot of fun. Talk to me a little bit about your matchups for the day. How do you feel like you performed? And yeah, and tell me how you think this deck helped you throughout the day on Sunday.
Yeah, so I finished with an overall record of 6-1. I don't want to count my finals match just because we split, but I versed Boros Energy 3 times.
Shocker.
2-0 in the Swiss, and then I was fortunate to in my winning in to win that semifinals matchup. The deck energy can get out of hand fast, but what's nice is that between the leyline bindings, the prismatic endings, it really doesn't matter how big they get because these spells do not care about power and toughness.
Right.
They just say, let's just get rid of it. So if they go turn 1 guide, you're like, cool. Hopefully you have, the leyline out. If not, you can easily set up domain between your lands so that you can at least do it turn 1. Binding if you're on the play, turn 2 if not. Otherwise, you can always, hope to fetch and go get a plains or just any white source to do the turn 1 prismatic. Sometimes hitting that Guide of Souls is really impactful.
Sure.
There's less Ragavans being run, which means they're not getting as an explosive start as they were. So if you throw them off that 1-2-3 curve, a lot of times you're in a better spot than you were, traditionally or previously.
Yeah.
And just need enough time to, again, once Valakut's in play, it's so hard for them to fight through that, especially because each fetch now becomes a problem and everything else. So
some notable things that I'm seeing here is Dryad is a 2/4 body, where the big answers that Boros has against it is Static Prison and Galvanic Discharge. And they have to spend a lot of energy in order to get rid of something like this. So it seems like a big investment on their end in order to get rid of something that's like an enabler for Valakut. The Static Prison to get rid of the ley line too as well. So it's I feel like this being a 2/4 and that being an enchantment really works in your favor for the sake of they don't necessarily have many answers to your enablers here. Like like you said, once Valakut starts going off, it's almost like a nice neat little engine that you have going. I do notice a sneaky little card that you have over there, and I think you know what I'm talking about. And talk to me about Savine's Reclamation.
Apparently, this is good at Commander, but I don't know. That format's in shambles. Rest in peace to my brethren. Savine's was, and I say this wholeheartedly, I have never cast this spell before.
Sure.
Never played with it, never even tried it. And this card was so flexible in so many ways. It's a great card to mill off of your Malevolent Rumbles, which puts all these permanents into play. A lot of times it feels bad when you might have hit one of your removal spells that you couldn't get because you need a land. Then you see your Savines and you're like, oh, cool, this is now a new payoff spell. It won me my quarterfinals matchup to just be able to put in a land and then use it as a ramp spell on turn 3, and then to turn 5, which in reality is the next turn because you're if you have the land, you go to your your 5th land, get 2 more back. I was able to have Leyline in play, and I was able to flash it back and just slam 2 Valakuts, and that was 6 right there.
That's wild.
So as a one-of, card's been amazing. You don't probably want too many more than that. I don't know. It's a tight list right now. You could maybe think about cutting a land, but then you're lowering your chances of your Valakuts going off. So
Right.
it's a tough call. Could I maybe make an argument to play another one if you shave something else? Possibly, but still a tough call. But as a one-of, it really did well, especially in those control matchups. I versed Murktide, I versed Frogtide. Unfortunately, I punted against Frogtide on round 2 and forgot to grab a basic. So by the time the Flood Moon came out, I was already locked out of the game. That was on me, though, just based on the board state. I was trying to get greedy and just go for the win. Didn't pay off. So
I noticed you're only running 3 rings in the main board. Is that like similar mentality to like how Boros is only running 3 right now, or were you missing the 4th at all, or did you really feel like 3 is kind of like the magic number here?
Well, I'm not poor, so don't even insinuate that I didn't have the 4th one. I'm just kidding. No, so I decided that my original list included 4,
Sure.
and the awkward thing sometimes is that you do want to see Ring. It's a very impactful card. I think everyone at home knows that. I'm not going to go into detail. We understand that. The reason I only played 3 is because while I do want to see the rings as much as I can, usually between these 3, the rumbles, and the ability to use my cycle lands, I'm usually digging pretty fast.
Right.
And I don't want to get a clogged up hand of just trying to buy time with 1 rings, because I eventually do want to turn the corner and get one of my Dryads in play, make sure one of my Leylines is in play, already have Scion or a Flage. I'm trying to use it to buy some time,
Sure.
but I'm not trying to get stuck in a ring loop where all I'm doing is doing that.
Sure.
It's not one of these decks that necessarily needs to do that with the 4. So
Right.
I shaved it down, which was for that Savines, and I think that it was a good call, especially in that tournament.
If that 4th slot was the Savines, after the amount of times that I saw the Savines throughout the day, push you through to the board state where you needed to be, I think that this swap was a dare I say genius call. Take me through your sideboard a little bit. I see some popular cards. I see some graveyard hate here. Take me through it a little bit.
Yeah,
for it.
I mean, nice and easy. The 4 consigned to memory. Obviously, we don't like the Eldrazi matchup, so Michael Spawn's an absolute nightmare.
It's a mainstay sideboard card these days.
Yeah, you're just playing it. There is some merit to maybe bringing it against certain other decks, but honestly, I've only ever brought this in against Eldrazi.
Sure.
Nothing else to me, has really been necessary to warrant bringing those in. You have the 4 dampening sphere. That's also for Eldrazi hate if you're versing the traditional Tron variation where they're not playing the ramp cards, they're just playing the Tron lands. Super helpful there. Obviously, your Storm Killer, just because between the spheres and then the consigns, you want to make sure you have those and you see those as quick as possible, because otherwise there's not a lot of interaction with Storm going on. So I
these
need that.
These are playing a little bit of double duty against some decks too.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. So I shouldn't say that because I know I said I only bring it in against Eldrazi. I didn't verse Storm during the tournament, so I didn't need it. But I would also make cuts for that as well, and some number of it. You have Temp Lockdown and 3 Wrath of the Skies. That's obviously for your energy matchup. They were super all-stars there in every way, shape, or form. Sometimes there were situations where I was thinking before we even played, the tournament that day, I'm like, shouldn't I just be running a 4th Wrath? And this being able to snipe everything 2 or less for 3, super impactful. Also, it deals with Ajani if it's flipped.
Yes.
Sure, if they get rid of it, they'll get the Ajani back, but it's on the front side, so maybe there's a chance that I can actually just go ahead and reset it and then Wrath it later on.
Sure.
So that came up.
Did you feel like you could have another temporary lockdown instead of the 3rd Wrath of Skies, or did you feel like that was the proper split?
It's the proper number. The thing is with this deck is you can get away with certain times only having a 1-up permanent because you can get it off of Rumble, which is super helpful. I think that Wrath is still the better card to want to see in multiples.
Sure.
This will buy you the time that you need so that then Wrath can clean up if need be. You also don't want to be too reliant on enchantments just because you've already got a Leyline Binding that your opponent's probably going to see in that first game. So they're going to know to bring in some sort of removal. So sometimes Temp Lockdown, while it does buy you time and sometimes just helps you, clear the path, they're probably going to have some removal for it, and you don't want to let them immediately rebuy everything. Wrath says, I don't care. We're just going to get rid of it altogether. They're probably not bringing in Sun Cleanser against me, so this is usually a free board wipe. There's just not enough energy payoff for them to justify bringing in Sun Cleanser against me.
That's fair.
So
being that this you punched your ticket the other day, are there any changes to this list that you'd like to make going forward to maybe try and like fine tune or kind of like make some tweaks or some edits, or do you feel like this 75 is kind of like where you want to be?
Right now, I'm fine with it as it is. I really haven't had a lot of chances to sit down this following week after the win to really just see if there's anything else that I want to be doing.
Sure.
I could see if you're not seeing a lot of storm, maybe taking out some number of dampening spheres for some other versatile cards. Surgical extraction seems like a pretty decent card right now, just getting rid of problematic permanents out of the graveyard.
Sure.
But other than that, yeah, the consigns are super necessary for the Eldrazi matchup. Maybe even like switching these out for something else that could hate it out, because the problem with Eldrazi is that dampening sphere doesn't stop them as much as it used to.
Right.
The fact that we're on like the teamer variations where they're playing these lands with Utopia sprawls, unfortunately that doesn't stop it. So
Right.
you're not sniping enough to it slows them down, but the problem is that they can eventually fight through that. So
Gotcha.
um that's the only thing that I have on my current to-do list as far as trying out some other stuff. Was thinking about including a second Savines over maybe like like the Ren, because sometimes the format is not super conductive for Ren to be a removal spell. But as a 3 of that constantly gets you lands back with 2 of these, I mean Savines gets you back Ren.
Yeah.
So and the idea is that I just have another way to simply just loop Rens. Isn't a hurtful
No.
notion at all, but I think with where we're at and with the format being how it is, especially with energy just being such a dominant force in the meta, I think that if you're hoping to play against energy or if you expect to see it, that this current iteration will give you a pretty decent chance.
Sweet. Vic, congratulations again on your RCQ win. We'll definitely be there in Charlotte with you to support you through your RC run. But congrats, brother. Really, really proud of you.
Thank you, Handsome.
Alrighty, guys. This is gonna be it for this modern deck tech. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.